Awesome. Well, welcome everyone. Happy Tuesday. Thanks for hanging out with me today. How many of you, this is our first time meeting each other? Tell me in the chat box, because I do see a lot of faces I don't recognize. And then I see a lot of faces I do recognize. I wouldn't want to call out someone like Danielle from Houston, but hi, Danielle. Nice to see you. Yeah, I see a lot of you that I recognize, so great to see you. Let me real quick introduce myself. I see a lot of you saying this is your first time seeing me, interacting with me. So let me just introduce myself real quick. While I do that, grab pen and paper. You're going to want to take notes today. And then also, if you would in the chat box, tell me what your position is. Are you an agent, inside sales agent, rainmaker, team leader? And then also, what would you most like to get from today's webinar? So while I'm introducing myself, do that real quick. But my name's Anna Krueger, and I used to be a high school teacher. I said I would never do business or sales ever. And here I am teaching business and sales. And I actually love it, because what I understand is when you are good at listening to people's stories and then you strategize to help them get what they want, you will have sales. So I truly view the sales role more like a coach role or like a consultant role. One of my relatives is a basketball coach, and he was telling me about a senior year team that was really a soccer team, and they played basketball because soccer was off season. Y'all tracking with me? So he asked him at the beginning of the season, do you want to win or do you want to have fun? Because they weren't very good at basketball. So he was like, if you want to win the season, you're going to have to work really hard. Or if you just want to have fun for your senior year, because you're more of a soccer team, we can do that. And the reason I'm telling you this is, as a coach, he listened to what the team's goal was. And then the rest of the season was dictated by helping that team hit their goal. Does that make sense to everyone? So as a coach, our job is to listen to the goal of the people we're working with and then help them hit their goal. And to wrap up the basketball story, they just wanted to have fun. So that influenced the way he coached them that whole season, because they wanted to have fun. They didn't care to win the state championship. So the idea here is we need to listen to people's stories. And then as we hear their stories or their motivation, then we can help them figure out how to achieve it. And so that's really what today's webinar is going to be all about. I've been in real estate now over 10 years. And I absolutely love helping agents hit their sales goals, because here's the thing. When you're good at sales, that increases your income. When you increase your income, you're helping to pay for aging parents who need help, right? You're putting kids through college, you're buying a house, you're paying off debt, you're giving to organizations that matter to you. And so the whole idea here is, the goal of today is to help you better uncover your client's true motivation. And the ripple effect is your income should increase because of the skill that you're going to learn today, which fuels all the things that matter to you. So are y'all ready to get the 4 questions? Awesome. I'm going to teach you the 4 questions. And then a lot of people on this webinar messaged me saying, will you tell us a little bit about the program starting tomorrow called Mega Lead Conversion? So I'll take maybe the last 5 or 10 minutes and touch on any questions you guys have on that. So let's go ahead and start with the 4 easy questions to find the motivated. So what you want to do is, so in your notes, write it down this way. The first step is to spend about 3 minutes uncovering the client's motivation. And I'm going to teach you how to do that real quick. And then I'll give you the 4 questions. So when I say uncover the client's motivation, what I mean is find out the reason that they want to move. If you're a commercial agent, find out the reason that they want to buy this commercial property. If you are a residential agent, figure out the reason that they want to buy a home or sell a home. Now, I used to think that downsizing was motivation. And it's very surface level motivation. What you really want to do is find out, why do they want to downsize? Why do they want to save money? Things like that. Because here's the goal, everybody. The goal is to get the nugget of motivation that were this person to no-show you, they just don't show up for the appointment, whether you're out showing them houses and they just never want to write an offer. If you are their coach, the job of a coach is to remind the person you're coaching of their goal when life gets tough, right? How many of you have coaches? And it could be a real estate coach. It could be a personal trainer. It doesn't have to be an official business coach. Anybody that's speaking into your life to help hold you accountable could be considered a coach. And I know for me, I've been going to the gym lately and I have a personal trainer. I'm seeing him actually in about 1 hour, so you can pray for me. But he reminds me of why I'm there. When I'm doing something that I don't want to do that's causing pain, he will tell me and remind me of why I'm doing it because he knows my goal. And that's what we're going to need to do for our clients. It's not an easy market right now. Can we all just acknowledge that? What we're finding is most people are having to work about 2 times the effort that they did a year ago to achieve the same result. So if you feel like you're working harder, you're probably right. You're actually doing the right thing. And it doesn't mean something's wrong with you as an agent. It's because of what's happening in the market. Well, because of the market we're in, it's even that much more important that we know how to get a client's motivation so that when they're starting to flake on us, when they're getting nervous, we can speak in and remind them of their goal, because our whole job is to get them to their goal. So real quick, here's how you get a client's motivation, and then I'll give you the 4 questions. When someone tells you the surfacey reason they want to move, let's say that they say the word downsize. What you want to do is ask a follow-up question using the word they just said. So say I'm talking to Arnie and she says, I really want to downsize. I would say, okay, great. What makes you want to downsize? Not what makes you want to have a smaller house, because I want to use her exact language because that's what builds rapport. How many of you have taken the class language of sales? If you've taken that, you've heard of keyword backtracking. And that's the idea that I will use their exact phrase in my very next question, because that shows I'm listening, and it also builds rapport because we're speaking the same language, literally, right? So let's say Arnie says, well, the reason I want to downsize is so I can save money. Somebody give me a good follow-up question using the words save money to dig even deeper into her motivation. And you could do the chat box, or you could do unmuting yourself.
What do you have to do? Tell me more about why you want to save money.
Perfect. Patty, you got it. I think, Jay, you were going to go for it and Patty beat you to it. But yeah, tell me more about why you want to save money. And maybe Arnie says, well, I want to save money because I need to take care of an aging parent. So I need that extra money right now. Somebody give me another follow-up question, and it needs to have something with aging parent in the next question. Somebody go for it. And again, you can use the chat box or unmute yourself. Anyone? Jay, you want to take this one? Oh, Rusty, go for it.
No, I was going to say, so you say your parents are aging. What is that going to mean for you?
Yes. Yeah, that could totally be a question that you ask. So it's just a follow-up question that you're going to use whatever they just said in the very next question. So what Rusty just said would totally work. You could say, what about taking care of aging parents is so important to you that you're willing to sell your house to take care of an aging parent? But can you all see the magic there is to take a word or a phrase that they just said and put it into your very next question? Will y'all just kind of wave at me if this makes sense to you? Because then I'll move on. Y'all got it? I'm a feedback person. I need the facial expressions. I mean, that's just how I am. Okay. All right. So we now know how to find out their motivation. In your notes, write down that should take about 3 minutes. And we're not doing a training today on how to ask the digging questions. That was just like a quick little snapshot for you. But just know a lot of research has been done. We've studied it for years now. We've timed it. And to really actually get the true motivation, it does take about 3 minutes. So you don't want to talk about anything else until you've spent 3 minutes getting that motivation. Once you have it, these are the 4 questions you're going to follow up with. And these are what I like to call the line in the sand questions. These are the questions that will help you figure out how serious are they really, okay? So question number 1 to write down, and I'll say it a few times so you can have time to write it down. Question number 1, on a scale of 0 to 10, how motivated are you to, and then fill in the blank. So on a scale of 0 to 10, how motivated are you to, take care of the aging parents? And basically you're going to just plug in whatever word they just gave you into that blank. So again, on a scale of 0 to 10, how motivated are you to, and then fill in whatever they just said. So here's the thing that I've learned. I used to think I overthought. I'm sure I'm not the only one, right? What if Amy says a 7, but Jonathan says a 4, but they're actually the same, they just rate themselves differently, right? And I actually asked a doctor this once who was having me rate pain. And I just said, how does this help you? Because what if I say a 7 and the person in the next room would say a 4, but we're actually in the same amount of pain? How does this whole rating thing help you? And his answer made sense. He said, I'm not so much paying attention to what number you give me. I'm more paying attention to the next time I ask you, is it higher or lower? So I don't care if you say a 7, I don't care if you say a 4, but the next time I see you, I'm going to hope that that number is lower because I'm reducing your pain. Does that make sense? So the reason I mention this is I used to get in my head if someone was like, oh, I'm a 3. In my mind, I'm like, why are we even on the phone? But what I learned is some of those people who said I'm a 3 ended up moving forward and buying a house because I would have called a 7 if I was answering, right? So just don't judge the number they give you is what I'm attempting to say here. Just ask on a scale of 0 to 10, how motivated are you to not make a move? Nobody wants to move, right? People don't really like moving. It's how motivated are you to, and then put in their motivation. How motivated are you to buy a house? How motivated are you to take care of your parents? How motivated are you to move to the beach? Okay. So that's question number 1. On a scale of 0 to 10, how motivated are you to fill in the blank? Question number 2, what makes it that number? What makes it that number? What I love about this question, I've had people who have been a little hesitant to open up to me. Do y'all ever have that person? They just seem like they're really hard to pull out information. What I find when I say, what makes it that number? 2 things happen. They tell me their motivation further, because maybe they'll say, I'm a 7. Okay, what makes it a 7? Well, I just have to get to the beach. This has been a goal of mine since I was in my 20s and I'm about to retire. I mean, it's just something I have to do. I really can't imagine not doing it. That's why it's a 7. The other thing that can happen is they'll tell me their objections, which I'm going to write down as things I need to solve later. So they might say, you know what, I'm a 7. And that's because I have no idea what I qualify for. And so I just, I don't know what I qualify for. I don't know what my current house is worth to know if I have enough equity to help me do this. So do you see how when you say what makes it a 7 or whatever number they gave you, it's really going to pull out of them possibly further motivation or also questions that you're going to need to solve. Here's the big thing I want to mention is don't try to solve it right now. Just take notes on a piece of paper. Okay. So you don't need to solve all the problems. You just need to find out what they are. Okay. So number 1, on a scale of 0 to 10, how motivated are you to fill in the blank? Number 2, what makes it that number? All right. Number 3, what would need to happen for you to be a 10? What would need to happen for you to be a 10? Now, maybe they said they were a 10 out of the gate, then you would say, stay at 10. What would need to happen for you to stay at 10? But all right, Elena, I'm hearing you say that you're a 4 and it's because of X, Y, Z. What would need to happen for you to be a 10? And basically, I'm asking, what do I need to do to help you move forward? But I'm wording it in a way that lands a bit softer. And I find that, again, they open up a bit more than if I just say, what do I need to do to get you to buy a house? So what would need to happen for you to be a 10? And again, this is where a lot of times they'll say things like, well, I need to find out what my house is worth, how much equity I have. And I would need to know where I'm moving to. In fact, that's a very common one that we hear. I need to know what my house is worth and I need to know where I'm moving to. And in my head, I'm starting to think, okay, we need to set an appointment. That's what we need to do. Because they're missing information is what it is. So what would need to happen for you to be a 10? And then the final question is kind of like a wrap up confirming question. And that question number 4 is, so if I did X, whatever they just said, you would be a 10? And that's just the confirmation. So in the example I just gave, question number 4 would be, so Jonathan, if we figured out what your house is worth and how much equity you have, and you talked to a lender to find out what you're pre-approved for, that would make you a 10? And then I'm looking for the yes, or they'll further clarify and say, actually, no, I also need another thing to happen. But what I have found using these 4 questions is, one, I usually get more deeper motivation through asking the 0 to 10 questions. And also they're basically spoon feeding me exactly what questions or objections I need to solve to remove all the obstacles to get them to move forward. So by the end of this series of questions, you have a really good idea of what's motivating them, and you have a really good idea of the things that might be holding them back. Now, I will tell you, sometimes people will say things like, well, I'm a 3. Okay, what makes you a 3? Well, I just filed for bankruptcy, and so I know that I'm not going to be pre-approved for a loan. Well, you know, in a situation like that, unless they have someone willing to help finance for them or co-sign or just be an independent lender, they probably are stuck, right? So just know not all things are going to be solvable, and that's okay. But what we want you to do is get really clear on who's serious and who's not. The other thing that I like about this, especially for today's market, is when I ask people, okay, on a scale of 0 to 10, how motivated are you? You'll hear people that are very much on the fence. And part of that's because of they might be nervous about the market or whatnot. And then you ask them, well, what would it need to happen for you to be a 10? You know, what makes you a 4? And you just come to find out that they're just really not that serious. You know, they might say, I need $500,000 for my house. And you know, the neighborhood's 300, right? And so what I like about this in today's market is it helps prevent you from spending time with people who are just really not that serious. And it helps you know kind of how to divide the groups of people you're talking to in, okay, these people are just not interested at all. These people are interested if all the stars align. So they maybe would do something, but they're not, you know, definitely moving. And then these people over here are the definitely moving. We've got to figure this out and find solutions. Okay. So just to recap one more time, the 4 questions. Step 1 really is spend 3 minutes digging into motivation using what I showed you at the beginning of the call. Use their words in the very next question and spend 3 minutes doing that. Once you've hit 3 minutes, you're going to say, number 1, on a scale of 0 to 10, how motivated are you to, and then recap that motivation. How motivated are you to take care of your aging parents? Number 2, what makes it that number? Number 3, what would need to happen for it to be a 10 or stay a 10? And then number 4, so if I did XYZ, you would be a 10? And then here's your transition statement away if you'd like to write that down. Because how do you transition out of this conversation? You would then say, okay, great. Let's see what we need to do to make that happen. So if you want to write that little phrase down. Okay, great. Let's see what we need to do to make that happen. And then that's where you can then put on the strategy hat. Okay. And now I will start solving. Now I will start educating. Now I will say we should probably meet, things like that. I saw a good question come in from Arlissa. When are we asking these questions? It's any lead that you talk to, anybody, whether it's expired, for sale by owner, a commercial lead that you prospected to, a door knock, you know, they walked into an open house. So this works for any lead source, any. And I recommend it's the first conversation. The reason for that is, and some of you know the pain of this, how many of us have spent time logistically talking to people about stuff, and then we're 15 minutes in and then find out they're not motivated at all. And we spent all this time talking shop with them. The other reason is a lot of agents don't ask these questions. And if I can shoot very straight and very direct with you, I'm going to be very direct. The last 2 years, if you breathed and you put a little bit of effort in, you could get people under contract because of what the market was. Can we all just agree? I'm not saying it didn't take some effort. Those of you that are buyer agents, my goodness, you were driving some people around because of all the multiple offer scenarios. So I'm not diminishing that. Please know that. And the market was so hot, it just wasn't that skill-based to sell a house. However, what we know, I just polled a whole group. I have a group of 6,000 people that I polled, and I just said, how many contacts did it take you to set an appointment a year ago? How many contacts is it taking you to set an appointment now in today's market? And as I gathered all the data, what is shown is you need to work about twice as hard. People who said 20 contacts are now saying 40. And they're just as skilled as they were a year ago. It's the market. And the bottom line is, if you are not working on your skill, you won't survive in today's market. And I don't say that to scare you. I mean, you guys are here. You're obviously working on your skill, or you wouldn't even be hearing my voice right now. So I'm not worried about those of you on this call. But the point I'm making is, it is essential now that you have skill. Now you have to have skill. You must be working on increasing your skill. Whereas a year or 2 years ago, you could probably scrape by and be average. And that's just not the case now. Everybody tracking with me? I think we all can see this, and that's why you're here. So it's important that we get that motivation first. And here's the other reason we do it, is it's the rapport builder. This person cares about me. And hopefully you genuinely do. I know, working in real estate myself, I genuinely care to know, how is this going to change the people that I'm working with? You know, what are we accomplishing through real estate together? So hopefully it's something that you genuinely care about. But what happens is, they're hearing from maybe 5 other agents, and the 4 other agents are going straight into logistics. When do you want to move? Are you pre-approved? Let's go look at houses. And then you're the 5th agent that comes along, and you're like, well, we'll get to that in just a minute. But first, what's even making you want to move? Why is that important to you? And you're going to stand out from the other 4 because you actually care about their goals, right? And so that's another reason that we ask about this motivation. So it's a couple of things. One, you can use the motivation if they start to flake out on you. That's just part of it. You're their coach. You got to remind them why they're there sometimes. And then number 2, it will help you stand out against other agents that are not asking these questions. Yeah. Awesome. All right. So let's do this. So many of you did ask about the coaching program. So let me transition real quick, because we have 5 minutes left. If you got benefit from today, did anybody learn anything? Hopefully you did. All right. There's a class called Mega Lead Conversion. It starts tomorrow. And that class is 6 months long. Jay's taken it. He's given me a thumbs up. That class is 6 months long. It is 18 sessions. And in that class, we're going to give you 19 language patterns. Now you might be wondering, what's a language pattern? So let me just explain it real quick. A language pattern is kind of like the science of how to talk to someone, but it gives you the freedom to be your own personality. So for example, let's say Amy, that you call someone, your call opener is going to have 5 steps. Deborah might call someone and her call opener is going to have 5 steps, but they might sound different because you're going to use your personality in executing the 5 steps to open a call. Does that make sense? Okay, cool. So you're going to learn things like, what do you do if someone picks up and then they're like, I'm busy, can you call me later? Which I don't mean to sound cynical, but they did pick up the phone. They're probably just brushing you off. So how do you navigate, I'm busy, call me later, and not be obnoxious as you navigate it, right? But you actually keep them on the phone. How do you set an appointment that actually shows up? Students in our class usually have 40 to 50% held ratio when they set an appointment. So I set an appointment, about half of them show up. Once we teach the class on how to get an appointment to show up, students are reporting closer to 80% are showing up. So imagine that you're already doing the work of setting appointments, and you're increasing the amount of people that show up either by 30 to 40%. That's pretty average in the program that we see. How do you get them to sign with you? How do you set it up so that 90% of the people sign with you? Average in the industry is 80% get signature. Students in our class are reporting 90%. So I'm not going to go over all 18 weeks. It's just too much content to try to explain in 4 minutes. But the idea is, we teach you how to convert leads in a relationship-based approach. We also give you tracking systems. We talk about the business of real estate. I have you walk through some financial goal planning. So here's the summary. We sat down and thought through, what are all the things you need to know if you are in real estate sales? And we made a list. And then we had other people look at it and they added to the list. And that is how it became a 6-month program. So really, when you enter the program, whether you've been in real estate 20 years, whether you just got into real estate, maybe you're not even licensed yet, the content should help you increase your business. So that starts tomorrow. Go to megaleadconversion.com. The class is going to be on Wednesdays at 2:00 Eastern time. And I'm going to put the link in the chat box here real quick. Oh, Graham got it for me. Thank you, Graham. I appreciate it. So mega lead conversion, check out the chat box. It's right there. It's Wednesdays, 2 o'clock Eastern. We do record. So I see some of my South African friends here. Hi, Peter. Good to see you. It's like 10 o'clock at night for you. So I'm so glad you're here. We do record the sessions so that no matter where you are, or if you're with a client, you can watch the recording. It's usually posted the day after class. So you can watch the recording on your own time. Dan says, I'm already registered. The moment you register, you get a link sent to your email. It's automatic. So it goes out right away. Check your spam folder if you don't see it. And if you still don't see it, Graham, maybe tell us what to do if they still don't see it. Okay. Yeah, if you still don't see the welcome email, email fasttrack@kw.com. It's $199 a month, each month for 6 months. So it's just under $1,200 total, but you don't pay it all at once. You do $199 a month. And here's what I would ask you is, if you were to apply even what you learned today, do you think you could have one additional closing in the year? I mean, that's like a ludicrous question, right? I mean, of course you would. And if you only had one closing from this program, it would be based off the average commission rate here in the US, it would be about a 5 to 6 times return on investment if you only had one closing in addition because of the class. I think if you're in an 18-week program and you're actually showing up, listening, and paying attention, you can expect far more than one extra closing a year because of the class. The last thing I'll say, and please know where my passion is coming from, is I want you to be able to pay for the things in your life that matter. And that comes down to skill. That's what it boils down to. The last thing I'll say, and then I'll open it up to questions, is as a recent student was 3 months into the program, is she told me that she was seeing, not setting, not talking to, but actually sitting in front of 10 extra people a month because of the content just in the first 3 months of the program. She still had 3 months to go. It's a 6-month program. And she reported seeing 10 extra people a month because of the class. So again, don't sign up if you know I'm not going to show up. I know myself enough to know I'm not going to be a note taker. I doubt that's you, though. You're here in a free class. So that's probably not going to be you. So megaleadconversion.com starts tomorrow. Go ahead and register and you'll get a lot more stuff like this. Okay. All right, let's open it up to questions. I have a hard stop in 5 minutes. So put in the chat box what your questions are, and I'll go through them as quickly as I can in the 5 minutes that we have. Dan, you mentioned at the last free class of personal affirmation. I don't remember. The last free class I did, though, was recorded. So if you registered, you should have that recording. That was so long ago, I don't have any idea what I said. I know I usually tell myself this person's going to love me. They just don't know it yet. That's what I tell myself when I'm lead converting. Arlissa liked it. I just saw you laugh. So if I'm calling Arlissa and she's, cussing me out, because nobody ever does that, in my head, I'm thinking, Arlissa's going to love me by the time I hang up this call. I don't know how yet. I don't know what I'm going to do to make her love me, but somehow I'm going to get her laughing by the time we hang up on this call. And that's what works for me, because it gets me in this, it almost makes it kind of like a fun, like, okay, what can I do to get her laughing? And so that's what I personally tell myself. And it's not because I'm arrogant. That's not why I'm saying that, because I was struggling with confidence. And so I started thinking, I'm struggling with my confidence. What can I tell myself to fight the lack of confidence? And that's where that statement came from, is they're going to love me. Hello. And then I started to feel confident, but that's where that came from. Thomas says, where can we get a copy of this recording? We will email it to everyone who registered, usually within 2 days. I will say we have the family reunion conference happening, so give us a little grace on how quickly we get it to you, if you would, but our goal is to have that to you within 2 days. Again, megaleadconversion.com. Oh, Helen, thank you for answering the question in the chat box. Okay. What other questions do we have? There is not a discount code for class. There used to be, and it expired, but here's the thing. The class used to be $800 a month, and we changed it to $199 a month. So it already is significantly discounted with that there. So you're saving $600 a month compared to what it was in the past. Okay, how long is each class, Melinda? Each class is 1 hour. So it meets from 2 to 3 p.m. Eastern time on Wednesdays. And we meet 3 weeks a month. You get 1 week off a month. And that makes it that if you are traveling and you got to catch up, you're not overwhelmed and all behind. So we meet 3 weeks out of 4. Okay, Angela, this is a great question. Angela said, how to transition if I missed the opportunity to ask these questions. And essentially now you're going back, right? Like maybe you're realizing, shoot, I haven't asked any of my leads about their motivation. How do I go back and get it now? So here's what you can do. Angela, say I was calling you, maybe we've talked a couple times and I've never asked you about your motivation. It could sound something like this. You know, Angela, I was thinking about it and I know we're working on helping you buy a house, but it dawned on me, I haven't actually asked you what makes this important to you. And as an agent, I love to know what your goals are. So let me ask you, what has you thinking about moving? And I've done this for so long, I can't say for sure it's 100% of the time. But what I can tell you is at least overwhelmingly % of the time, people are touched when you do that because it shows that you care. I don't remember anyone ever getting mad at me for saying, you know what, we've talked a few times and it kind of dawned on me, I haven't even asked you what about this is important to you. What has you thinking about moving? I can't recall a time that someone was upset with me for that. Maybe there was and I don't remember, but the overwhelming majority of the time they seem touched that you care to ask. And
this is Angela. I just want to follow up with that. What if it's a young person and they are a texter? It's just very difficult to connect, even though we were out and saw the parents with the houses, it's a very closed mouth family. I'm having a hard time pulling.
So what I would say, and this will have to be the last question because of time. What I would say is you could text and say, I can help you so much more efficiently over the phone. Let's get on the phone. And Angela, this is me. I would just have a hard line of I'm not communicating with them over text anymore. Every text is calling them to get on the phone. Because experience has shown, and there might be occasional exceptions to this, but overwhelmingly people that are unwilling to talk on the phone, they consume enormous amounts of time and they are difficult to work through the transaction with. And it's almost like for the one person that you're helping that everything is texting, think of how long that takes to type something versus saying it. It is so much more time involved. You could have helped 2 other people for the time that one person's taking. So what I like to do if someone is like, well, if I'm talking to a lead and they have a certain standard of how they want, if it's not what we do, I'll say something like, you know, Angela, I can totally appreciate your preferences. The standard I have in the clients I work with is the process works like this. And here's why. Here's why we do that. And if they're not willing to get on the phone, I may then offer to refer them to someone, and that's just me. The thing is, when you are regularly working on lead generation, the good thing is you have other people to choose from. And so where desperation comes in is I'm not lead generating, so I've got to work with this one person I have because I don't have anyone else. But if I'm consistent with my lead generation, I know I have 5 more people in the queue that really want to talk to me. And this person's taking 30 minutes to text back and forth, where a phone conversation on average is 12 minutes. You see? So that's what I would recommend. Okay, we are at time. So I need to hop offline, but check out megaleadconversion.com. There is a video on the homepage of that site that has me explaining how the program works. It's like a 3-minute video doing a rundown. There's a lot of detail on the page. So megaleadconversion.com, $199 a month for 6 months. Starts tomorrow, 2 p.m. Eastern. I trust I will see you there. And then we will send this recording to all of you. Give us about 2 days to do that and have some grace because we have class starting tomorrow and then we have the conference. So it's a little nutty, but we will get it to you. All right. Bye, guys. Thanks for hanging out with me. And I will see you hopefully in class tomorrow. Have a great day, everybody.
Bye. Thanks. Bye.
Bye.